Ben Northey, thanks for joining us. It's a great
pleasure.
Obviously, a lot of people think that a conductor's job is simply to keep time. And obviously, that's not it. It's leadership. And I'd just be interested to hear you talk about what you actually do.
So the conductor's role, in addition to unifying people through the keeping of time, is to make decisions about the architecture of the interpretation, the pacing of the work, the kind of approach to sound that you might have for a particular piece of music or a particular composer, a particular era, and to be able to communicate all of these things to the orchestra, to bring them to that idealised vision of the piece of music that's in your mind.
So you have quite a lot of leeway in the way you envision the piece.
Well, you do, and really you have to try and convince the musicians that it's a worthy interpretation. I mean, sometimes you might do something that's absolutely ridiculous and out of place, and the musicians will resist. They will resist that. And there's great old rehearsal footage and audio recordings of Herbert von Karajan, the famous conductor of the Berlin Philharmonic, rehearsing with his orchestra, and they're in a constant dialogue. And he's saying, we should do this, and they say, but what about, are you sure? Doesn't that mean that this would be wrong? And he's always trying to convince them. And he usually has an answer that they're willing to accept. And I suppose that's the role of the leader in this situation, is to create a vision that people will buy into, and they will be willing to go along this journey towards.
I know you studied conducting and got a Master of Music in conducting, but were you a musician? Did you study music and a particular instrument before that?
Oh yeah, well I was a saxophonist eventually, but I played the piano and the violin as a very young boy. I played trumpet for 4 years in primary school. I played in the Ballarat City Brass Band when I was a little tacker and my legs wouldn't touch the floor. And I played, as a casual player with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra, and I did a lot of recording session work here in Melbourne, a lot of touring. I played with Tommy Emmanuel, the great guitarist, and was in his band for a couple of years and toured internationally with him, and I was very busy. It was when I went back to university as a mature age student in my late 20s, because I just felt like I had sort of exhausted that world of freelance work. I really needed another adventure and another challenge.
When you do a postgrad in conducting, what do you learn?
Well, a lot of it is simply repertoire, but a lot of it is the technical aspect of this art form. And
of waving the baton?
Of how
to do it?
Of how to do it. And there is an art form, it's like a sign language, that orchestras universally expect and understand, all of the different beating patterns. And it's amazing if you don't think about the way that you use your body, you use your arms, you use your hands, your face. There's a German word called Ausstrahlung, radiance. You have to kind of find a way to radiate the music and to be able to communicate your ideas. You can have the best ideas in the world. You could be the greatest musician in history, but if you can't physically communicate them, they're utterly worthless, because the idea with conducting is you're replacing verbal instruction with gesture. So it's a gestural art form. You give the audience a gesture, they respond.
What have you learnt about leadership in general?
I think all the best leaders are really enthusiastic people. All of my favourite leaders are filled with enthusiasm. They have an infectious enthusiasm. It's not just charisma. I think often leadership is confused with charisma, or charisma is kind of like a poor substitute for actual leadership, because the best leaders, first and foremost, have a really good idea, have a really able vision and a worthwhile goal. There's nothing worse than having somebody who's able to bring people together to a vision that is sort of not ultimately going to be all that successful. And so I really believe, I suppose, that the best leaders are full of altruism, empathy. They're always thinking about how to bring the best out of people. How do I help this person realise their maximum potential?
Do you think that there'll always be a place for orchestras conducted by someone like you?
I do, because I think for as long as there's music, there will be orchestras. It's still the most powerful expression of art music. It's still and it's because of the scale. It's because of the scale and the humanity and the fact that it's not amplified. You're dealing with sounds that are created through instruments by human beings, and it represents something so powerful, not only artistically, but I think in terms of the city itself and what orchestras represent about the city, and the fact that I know not everybody comes to an orchestra, although I would say there's a wider cross-section of the community that do now than ever before because of the different offerings, but it's still something for a city to be really proud of. And just from an artistic point of view, there's nothing like going to a concert and having the hair stand up on the back of your neck when a piece of music transcends into drama and into something that engages your mind, your soul, your creativity, and inspires you.
It's been great talking to you, Ben. Thanks a lot.
You too, Alan. Thanks very much.